This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Might be here come Monday by Jimmy Buffett. Some people have some hard-earned feelings about Jimmy Buffett. The previous co-host on Halftime, Drew Barrett, was a Jimmy Buffett. He was a parrot head. He loved him, everything about him. I'm all right with Jimmy Buffett. I don't dislike him, but I'm not a huge fan. I can listen to some of it. What are your feelings on Jimmy Buffett?
Kind of like you, take it or leave it. I mean, it's not bad, but it's kind of, I don't know.
It's elevator music,
always just,
right? You just you throw it on there. It's like whatever.
Yeah, I've heard the elevator music in the old Royal Center was the worst. I remember one time the elevator broke down and there were some football players in the elevator, and they were trapped in there for 2 hours. And when they finally got them out, the speaker in the top of the elevator was ripped out. And one of us in the media said, "What was that all about?" And they said, "We got tired of listening to that music, so we destroyed the speaker." So, yeah, elevator music is pretty bad most of the time. I guess Buffett's okay if you're in an elevator for not too long.
They call it Muzak, right? Isn't that there's a company called Muzak, which sells boring
background music.
Yeah, background music for telephone hold systems. I guess, which is still a thing. I guess they used to sell the elevator music too.
Yeah,
I never thought.
You go to the dentist's office. You go to the dentist's office, and you're sitting there for 2 hours. So they got this music in the background. I guess it's supposed to be neutral type music. Won't make anybody mad.
Non-denominational.
Won't get them too fired up.
Well, Mike, if I were to describe the kind of music that they could play over the Duty Noble Field sound system to describe the Mississippi State Bulldogs, like I know this is more about the Razorbacks because they played really well this weekend, but watching Mississippi State this weekend, the two kinds of music I can think of would be Benny Hill or wah, 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 wah. That's a bad baseball team right now, and the Razorbacks took advantage of that.
Yeah, I think you got to give Arkansas some credit. Their pitching, the one thing Mississippi State does well is hit, and I thought the pitching was really amazing. I mean, you start off with that first game, and Hagen Smith, Cody Adcock, and Gage Wood. I think they pitched a combined 2-hitter, and Arkansas didn't score a lot of runs in that game, so they needed that. And then game 2. You score enough runs, you run rule somebody. That really helps for game 3. So they needed just 2 pitchers in game 2. And, Taggart goes the 2 innings they wanted him to go and no hits them. And then McIntyre gives up 7 hits over 5 innings, but just 2 runs. And then in game 3, I thought maybe they were in a little bit of trouble. Holland didn't do what they wanted. Adcock didn't. Those 2 gave up that. I think they went 5 innings, but they gave up 6 runs. And then all of a sudden, here comes Zach Morris. Where did he come from? I mean, 3 innings of no-hit baseball. Talk about a guy that stepped up when they needed him. And then Parker Coyle does what he's been doing lately. He kind of finished off the game 3 up and 3 down in the 9th. So I give Arkansas credit for its pitching, and the way it impacted that sweep. But you're right. I don't know if if you should get real excited about the kind of reemergence of the hitting in that game, because Arkansas's team batting average had dropped all the way down to 11th or something, and it's back up a little bit maybe, but some of that was Mississippi State's pitching. It was pretty bad.
Yeah, it was. It was bad, but you got to take advantage of bad pitching, and I liked seeing the 8 home runs come back. Brady Slavin's had a home run in each game of the series. Kendall Diggs, who hadn't homered in a month, hits 2 of them. Borfin, a couple of home runs. Callie got a hold of one. So I felt like, and I think they earned those. That you got to hit it really hard to get it over the fence. But they also made plays in the field, and just was it's kind of crazy to think that Arkansas is 11-1 against Mississippi State since the 2019 baseball season. But this team right now, man, Mike, it's baked into their DNA. Be like, how do they keep winning games when they're down so many different guys that are important? Well, I think they believe, and I get it. It's maybe a little cheesy to think about this and to put it in these terms. Dave Van Horn says this a lot. If you don't believe you can't win, then you're not going to win. I think Mississippi State goes into each game not thinking they can win because it's kind of playing itself out. for the Razorbacks, it's the total 180. I don't think they've ever feel that they would lose a ball game.
And how are they sitting here with the same conference record they had in 2021 when they won the league outright, with all the issues they've got right now and the way they don't, again, 11th in hitting, 7th in ERA. How are they doing this? Is it smoke and mirrors? I guess it's just guys believing in the right person, like Zach Morris. Guy comes out of the bullpen and just does what you don't expect him to do. And as a result, and then they got some help. I mean, all these teams, these good teams, went on the road and got beat. I mean, my goodness, LSU, they got to be going. Of course, they've run a tight race with Arkansas in injuries, but Arkansas has gone back and forth with them for the lead in the West, and they're back on top again and pulled into a tie with Vanderbilt. I mean, I'm looking at this stuff going, what? It's hard to, and then you've got 2 weekend series left, and you're not sure what's going to happen in these 2 series, but could decide a lot. I mean, you've already got people saying that if they win the South Carolina series and win 1 game at Vanderbilt, they're a 4 or 5 national seed at the end of the year when the playoffs start. So it's much better than I thought it would be.
Is Dave Van Horn Coach of the Year? Now, I mean, I'm asking National Coach of the Year. I think he will be SEC Coach of the Year. But when I look across the landscape, there is no team that's doing more with more injuries than Arkansas. Ranked 3rd in the D1 baseball poll. The record speaks for itself. And I wouldn't be surprised when the votes are all counted that Dave Van Horn is National Coach of the Year.
Well, they're going to have to do some stuff in the playoffs. This sort of thing is going to have to continue once they get in the NCAA tournament. But yeah, it's entirely possible. And when I look at it, I look at the way he shifted people around. One of the things that's really surprised me is they haven't had more defensive issues when you move your outfield around and you playing people in different positions. It usually causes defensive problems, and they haven't had that. And he's seemed to know where to put the right person at the right place. And, the way he stacked this pitching lineup, trying to I'm moving Hunter Holland back to Sunday, and it worked for a couple of innings. Who's to say he won't come around here in another game or 2? But I just like the way he's handled all of these issues. And, I think you got to give him his assistant coaches credit, too. They get ripped all the time. Every time Arkansas loses a series, and it's like, oh, it's all their fault. No, a lot of Arkansas fans wouldn't dare criticize Dave Van Horn, but they don't mind going after these assistant coaches. And I think you got to give them credit for some of the stuff, the ways. I got a question on Ask Mike. A guy was upset because he said in these midweek games they play too many guys that aren't in the regular lineup, and it makes the game boring. And I'm thinking, well, you play those people because you might need them. And they've had to do that. They've needed those guys this year with some of the injuries. So every decision he makes that gets questioned, if you wait around long enough, you get an answer to why he did that.
Well, it's all like, you got guys on the team. He wants them to play. He told me yesterday he doesn't view the guys that are playing midweek as backups. They're future starters. And in order for them to, view themselves in that way, they need to play. They didn't come to sit, and they're good ball players as well. And the other aspect is you got guys who are just banged up, and they could use a day without playing a game. And I don't call that load management or, cheating fans out that bought tickets to see so-and-so play. It's planning your team properly. I think that's what it is. It's planning your team properly. And your point about how they really haven't taken a step back defensively, maybe a little bit in the outfield, but they've still been good enough in the outfield. Guys that come to play infield at Arkansas, they're all shortstops. It's like Sam Pittman says, he wants his offensive linemen to be able to learn how to play all the different positions, because if somebody gets hurt, you can get your right guard to slide over to right tackle, so on and so forth. You've got to be able to play different positions, I think, not just view yourself in one role. And that's what's happened this year. That's how you get a Brady Slavens that's played 4 different positions, and how you get a Peyton Holt that's played third and second base and been good. I mean, these guys all come here as shortstops, but it's pretty rare that they play shortstop here.
Yeah, and your program's where you want it to be when fans start getting mad over losing to Lipscomb. You'd say to yourself, you're really upset about that? And I got a question on Ask Mike. What's up with that? I drove an hour to go to that game, and they didn't even look like they tried and all this stuff. And I'm thinking, seriously? You're worried about that game when they just got a sweep and moved into a tie for first place? But this is what happens when your program is going at this level. Fans get selfish. They want everything. They don't want any problems. So it's actually kind of a good sign, I think.
Mike, with is Ron Holland? Is he going to be a Hog? Is that a done deal?
Here's the problem with that. He hasn't, as of this morning. I don't know if it's changed or not, but he hadn't been released from his original LOI, and that has to happen first. Now, what I was told is nobody can even talk to him now. I'm sure somebody's talked to him, but you're not supposed to talk to a guy until he's gotten his release. I think Texas has several more days to decide that. And then if they turn him down, he's almost certainly can go appeal that with the NCAA and will get a waiver based on the fact that the coach that signed him is not there anymore. That happens all the time. But I don't have any doubt that he's going to be released one way or the other, but it does make for a delay. Now, if you start trying to read the tea leaves and all these national people that cover recruiting and things, it's been stated for a while now that it's down between the G Leagues and Arkansas, with a slight edge to Arkansas. I don't know how much these guys know. I mean, it looks pretty good. Here's the thing that's interesting. It wasn't 2 or 3 weeks ago, fans were saying they don't want any more of these one-and-done guys. And now they're going nuts, wanting to know if this guy, if they've got him. You always want a guy like that. And to me, if he comes, it will be interesting to compare him to those 3 5-stars that were one and done this year. See if there's any difference. Because I got to believe that you can sit around and complain about these guys all you want, but anybody that doesn't want a one and done talent is out of their mind.
You look at this team that he's assembling, and if Walsh and Devo come back, and even if they don't, I think they should. That they're going to be so tough to score. I mean, the defense, Mike, they're going to be able to switch everything. This team he's putting together is going to be a top 5 team.
Yeah, I mean, and they're due. I mean, this year was a disappointment. There were some things that you couldn't anticipate that happened, and even then, I think what we now see is no matter what happens in the regular season, this guy, he knows how to get guys ready to play in the NCAA tournament. When you're playing teams that you haven't seen all year, he's better at scouting, getting guys ready. And look at his track record. Look at they won 8 games and 8 playoff games in 3 years, 8 NCAA tournament games. I mean, it's incredible. It's back to the only thing left is a Final Four and a national championship, and now you've returned to the Nolan years, which everybody wanted, but looked like it might not ever happen again.
Well, it certainly seems like they've got a lot of momentum. Recruiting, portal, freshmen, and the success in March kind of speaks for itself. So hopefully that'll...
A lot of talent, Phil. I mean, you're looking at the guys coming in, and I know we bring this up, is you got a high school kid averaging 17 a game, or you can go get somebody in a Power 5 averaging 16 a game. I mean, and you're getting 5 or 6, and they're all kind of do the same thing. Like, they all have their specialties, but they all are just so similar. I put it kind of that Nevada team he had that made a run where he had those twins, like that type of basketball player. Those are the type of guys that he's getting.
Mike, the idea of, some fans you talk to don't like the one and done. Some don't like the transfer portal and anything. I think it's just basically time to just embrace the reality of college sports. And until the NBA changes their eligibility for the age eligibility, you just got to accept this is what it is. There isn't anything wrong. Like, if your team is made up of one and done, maybe you got a problem. Maybe that you don't have enough experience or enough leadership there. I like the way that Muss puts his teams together because he's taking advantage of the options that he has. He's not viewing this as the one way to build a team. I like that. And I just think you just have to view the way college sports is right now. This is the way it is. We can take our value judgments of it, but Muss is not taking value judgments of it. He's just dealing with reality the way that it's put in front of him.
Yeah, you're going to continue to get fans mad because a Darian Ford comes in and doesn't want to leave, but he does leave. You're gonna say, well, gee, the guy didn't stay here long enough for me to really enjoy it. You can talk about that stuff all you want, but once again, you start the season as a fan with at least a reasonable expectation of making the Final Four. It doesn't mean you'll get there, but you're not thinking that's impossible now. And for a lot of years after Nolan was fired, that sort of thing was ridiculous. It never even entered your mind. It was like, well, can we make the tournament this year? Can we win a game? The expectations have gone up, and that's a good thing, not a bad thing.
BetOnline.ag is your number one source for all your basketball info, stats, news, and scores. Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest player reports for this year's pro basketball playoffs. BetOnline is always your sports information headquarters this season, as we have you covered for all your sports wagering needs. Basketball, MLB, NHL hockey, right down to UFC and boxing. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to get your betting info, including live betting options and your favorite casino and card games you can play right from your home. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Be sure to use our promo code BELIEVE to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's BLEAV. BLEAV. BetOnline, where the game starts.